I found a great bargain at a local grocery store, 15 cents a cob for corn. I got 26 cobs, so for under $4, I got myself a load of corn to deal with. Today, it's corn relish day. Come on down and see what I've got going on. Yesterday I blanched the cobs of corn for 10 minutes, and then I took a short bladed knife and I cut the kernels off of the cobs, and I set this in the fridge overnight because I wasn't able to get to it. I'm using the Bernardin Complete Book of Home Preserving today. The corn relish recipe is the traditional corn relish recipe on page 14. There are other corn relish recipes in that book, but some of them call for clear gel, and it's difficult to get clear gel here in Canada, so I'm going with the traditional corn relish. I have 9 cups of corn. I have 3 cups of finely chopped cabbage. I have 1 cup of chopped onion and 1 cup of chopped red bell pepper, finely chopped. My thinking on that is I want these pieces to all be the size of corn, or the corn kernels, or smaller. And now I add 4 cups of vinegar, 3 cups of sugar. You could use organic if you wanted to. I have a bunch of this handy, so I'm using white sugar. Then you want 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of dry mustard, and 1 tablespoon of each of the following: celery seed, turmeric powder, salt, and this is supposed to be mustard seed. I don't have mustard seed in the house, and this is pickling spice, which is already loaded with mustard seed, and I actually love pickling spice, so I'm good with that. It won't affect the acidity of the recipe or anything, so it's fine to use that. So I'm going to put this on a medium-high, and I'm going to bring that to a boil and boil it for 25 minutes. It already smells fantastic. While I'm waiting for that for 25 minutes, I'm going to set up my canner with some hot water, and I'm going to prepare my jars. Okay, I've set a timer. This has been boiling for a minute or two, and I stirred it down. I'm just going to wait for that to come back up to a boil here. I'm surprised how liquidy that has become. And it smells amazing. I think I'm going to be quite happy with this. I'm glad I used the pickling spice because that's got stuff all through it that I expect to see in a corn relish. Oh, I'm excited about this recipe. This recipe is supposed to make 5 pints. Because I'm the only one who uses relish, I'll probably put some in half pints and maybe even some in quarter pints to make as a gift. So there we have it. It's been boiling or simmering for 25 minutes. It has reduced greatly in its volume. It was up to here at one point. I think it still looks pretty watery, and that's supposed to make 5 pints. Hopefully that water will soak into the vegetables as it sits. It doesn't have any thickener in it. If it had clear gel, that would be goopy. All right, now time to bottle it up. Here is my normal setup. I have a hot pad to put the pot on the counter. I have a ladle or a scoop to put the food into the jar. I have a funnel to assist with that. I have a debubbling tool, and then I have my jar lifter. I have a paper towel handy for wiping the rims. My jars have been sitting in a sink of hot water, just waiting. And here we go. This one's going to be too close. Let's move this back a bit. I'm going to drain off some of the liquid because I really think there's too much liquid here. A half pint is a 1 cup jar, so the 1 cup measuring cup I'm using here is perfect. I always forget to grab a tablespoon. This is perfect for lifting that extra little bit when the jar is just a little too full. Lift that out of there. Make sure there are no air bubbles down there. They're supposed to have a 1/2 inch headspace. Yum! This is delicious. Okay, a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel or a clean kitchen cloth. I've had these lids sitting in hot water in the sink with the jars. They're not boiled, it's just hot. And we're twisting them fingertip tight. Ouch, that jar is hot. And then I'll put them in the canner. These jars are a 1/2 cup size. Just about right for gift giving. If I make up a pickle basket, for example. I think a jar of corn relish and a jar of charred salsa and a jar of apple butter. I think that would make a neat gift. Starting to run out of space in the canner. I have my jars in there on a rack so they're not touching the bottom. And it's come to a full rolling boil. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. When the 15 minutes is over, I will shut the timer off. I will shut the stove off. I will let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I will remove them out of the jars out of the canner to a place where they won't be disturbed. Okay, they boiled for the required amount of time, and I shut the burner off. They've been sitting for 10 minutes. Let's see what we've got. And there we go, beautiful corn relish. Music to a canner's ears. So there we go, 6 1/2 pints and 8 1/4 pints. Did you see that? An 8 1/4 pint. The little ping is just music to the canner's ears, and that one we actually got to see it pop on the camera. Woo! Gotta love it. Yesterday I was making corn relish and it turned out delicious, but I made an error that could be dangerous. I goofed. I used a good recipe and I just found that the brine was too runny. And I didn't want my corn relish, to be like corn in a soup. Like I thought it was going to be too runny and it wouldn't can properly and all of that. So I didn't use all of the brine when I was scooping my jars. I kind of left some brine in the bottom of the pot. So now I have all of this corn sitting above the brine. It's only about half full. And the chances of that turning bad is too much of a risk for me to take. So how am I going to fix this? I'm going to open all of these jars. I'm going to make another pot of brine. I'm going to top these up so that the product is all under brine. And then I'm going to water bath can them for another 25 minutes because that's what the recipe originally called for. I will use the brine out of the recipe at the correct ratio of water, sugar, vinegar, and I'll fix this mess. I don't want to gift this stuff and have someone get sick. I don't want to eat this in 6 months and find Dan and I sick. So I'm going to fix it today. This has only been sitting here since last evening. As I was just touching that, I realized that was popping under my fingers. It didn't seal properly. It looks like it's sealed. Oh, there you go. That didn't seal. And I found another one. That one didn't seal. So these 2 jars would have been scrap anyways. So let's fix this. I'm going to need new lids. Looking closer at these lids, I used Bernardin lids and all of the Bernardin lids sealed just fine. I opened a new case of jars yesterday and I used the lids that were on the jars while they were in storage. These lids were already stuck to the jars. I had to actually pry them off of the jars to get the jars open. So that could be what the problem was. Maybe these jars had sealed in my closet upstairs, and I'm gonna get rid of these lids. I'm not going to use those. These lids are Bernardin. They came on the Bernardin jars. I don't have any trouble with my Bernardin lids when I'm using fresh lids. I really think it's just because they were already sealed to the jars when they were in storage. I have one full box of Bernardin lids. This is the Canadian equivalent to Ball. And I have one leftover lid from another project. I need 14 lids, I only have 13. Last fall, I bought some 4 jars lids, and this will be my first time trying them out. Because I only need to top up these jars, I'm only going to make a half batch of brine. Instead of 4 cups of vinegar, I'll use 2. Instead of 3 cups of sugar, I'll use 1.5. And instead of 1 cup of water, I'll use half a cup of water. Come on down, let's fix this. This brine would be perfectly fine with just the vinegar, water, and sugar, but I'm going to throw in a bit more of the pickling spice that I used. And I'm going to throw in a bit more turmeric. Oh, my spoon won't fit. And my jar, the humidity has gotten to this jar. So I'm just going to put in a portion of what the whole recipe called for this as well. Come on, sprinkle. There we go. Okay. My vinegar, my water, my sugar, and I'm going to bring that to a boil for 5 minutes. 5 minutes might be a generous amount of time, but it doesn't hurt anything. I might fish that clove out of there. I don't think I want a whole clove or a whole peppercorn in my jars. Okay, let's save this relish. Get these lids off. Oh, this stuff smells so good. I could just eat it all up right now. The difference between the Bernardin lids and the 4 jars lids is the 4 jar lids have to be simmered for a bit, boiled for a bit. I've done that, and I've got them sitting in boiling water over here beside me, or hot water here beside me. They've already been boiled. I'm going to bring the brine to the top of the product. And it's got the correct headspace. I need 1/2 inch headspace. Most of these only need a tablespoon or so of brine to top them up. I didn't even need half the brine that I made. As always, wipe the rims. This brine is sticky, and there are celery seeds in these jars, so celery seeds are so tiny that you might not see them sitting on the rim. There we go. Let's fix this. I have the canning kettle warming up beside me here. My 4 jar lids are hot. Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, ouch. Yes, they're hot. Looking at these, just eyeballing these, the divot in the middle is much more pronounced than it is on the other lids. And here we go. I'm going to use the same rings that I used and fingertip tight. That's the instructions on the insert that came with the, those are the instructions on the insert that came with the 4 jar lids. 4 jars. I am not an affiliate. I know a lot of my YouTube friends are. We'll see how things go. Maybe that's something I should look into. That was an easy fix. They're not always going to be that easy, and hopefully you catch yourself making mistakes like that. These are going to go in the water bath canner, and I'm going to water bath them for 25 minutes. That's what the original recipe called for. The product inside has been water bathed already, and this might make it softer, but it's relish. Relish can be soft, it's fine. It's corn. It's okay if it's a little bit softer than expected. But if you don't water bath it for the right amount of time, again, I've had them open to the air. They could be contaminated just by opening them. So I'm going to run it for 25 minutes and make sure that my family is safe and we can all enjoy our corn relish. I've learned from my mistake. I won't do that again. Thanks for sticking around, guys. I hope to see you next time. And remember to subscribe, because I'm me. I'm genuine. I own my mistakes. and I'm not going to present you with a fake front. So I screwed up, I fixed it. Thanks guys, see you next time.